The Galactic Council chamber was an awe-inspiring sight. Suspended in the heart of an enormous Dyson sphere orbiting an artificial star, its walls shimmered with projections of distant galaxies, a symbolic reminder of the Council's jurisdiction over countless star systems. Representatives from every major species in the known universe, each one unique in biology and temperament, filled the tiers of concentric seating. The air buzzed with anticipation, curiosity, and, for a few, thinly veiled disdain. Today's session promised something unprecedented, even by the Council's standards. The humans, those latecomers to the galactic stage, had sent a warship. It wasn't just the arrival of the ship that had caused the stir, although it had appeared at the system's edge in a manner no species fully understood, bypassing hyperlanes entirely, but the look of it. The vessel, an angular colossus with gleaming metallic surfaces, bristled with weapons that defied conventional understanding. More bafflingly, the humans claimed it wasn't even their largest warship. The Council, accustomed to elegant starships with sleek curves and gravity-bending technology, found the sheer brutality of the design unsettling. "By the void, look at the size of that thing," bellowed Garoth Tor, the four-eyed, tentacle-laden representative of the Krenzer Dominion. His voice, low and resonant, reverberated through the chamber. "It looks like they glued random chunks of metal together and called it a ship," added Listavix, a crystalline lifeform from the Luminex Alliance. Her refracted voice chimed melodically, despite her obvious disdain. The murmurs of agreement swelled across the chamber. In the center, seated in a levitating chair that rotated gently to address all present, High Chancellor Ardivan raised one spindly arm to silence the commotion. The insectoid elder's multifaceted eyes glimmered with irritation. "Representatives," he intoned, his voice a harmonious blend of clicks and tones, "we are not here to critique aesthetics. The humans have requested this assembly to present their contribution to interstellar peacekeeping. We will hear them out." At the far end of the chamber, a platform descended from the shadows above. On it stood Captain Adrian Voss and Lieutenant Nia Albright, two representatives of humanity, clad in crisp navy blue uniforms adorned with minimalistic insignias. They stepped forward, projecting an air of confidence that, to the assembled aliens, seemed both admirable and irritatingly smug. Captain Voss cleared his throat, his deep voice amplified by the chamber's acoustic systems. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his tone polite but firm, "we are honored to be here today. Humanity has long admired this assembly's efforts to maintain peace and stability across the stars. It is in this spirit that we present the Indomitable, a symbol of our commitment to the collective security of all sentient species." At that moment, a holographic projection of the Indomitable appeared, towering above the chamber. The vessel's jagged hull glinted menacingly under simulated starlight, its myriad gun turrets and missile bays casting long shadows across its imposing structure. The audience's reaction was immediate. Gasps, murmurs, and even a few outright laughs rippled through the chamber. "It looks like it's ready to devour a planet," exclaimed a Zixer representative, her gelatinous body quivering with disbelief. "Surely, this is a jest," added another, a feathered avian with a voice like wind chimes. "No one builds ships like this anymore. It's barbaric." Voss maintained his composure, though a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "I assure you, this is no jest. The Indomitable is a state-of-the-art vessel, equipped with advanced technology designed to neutralize threats of any scale. It represents humanity's philosophy, strength through preparedness." "Preparedness for what, exactly?" interrupted Garoth Tor, his tentacles writhing impatiently. "It looks as though you're preparing for war against the entire galaxy." Lieutenant Albright stepped forward, her sharp features illuminated by the hologram's glow. "Our history has taught us harsh lessons, Representative Tor," she said. "Humanity's past is riddled with conflicts, wars we barely survived. The Indomitable isn't just a warship, it's a deterrent. Its very existence ensures peace by making aggression against us unthinkable." The chamber fell into a tense silence. For a moment, even the most vocal critics found themselves considering the human's words. But then Listavix's crystalline form shimmered with disdainful amusement. "Deterrence? Or intimidation?" There's a fine line between the two, Lieutenant. And that monstrosity you call a ship has undoubtedly crossed it. Before Albright could respond, High Chancellor Ardivan raised his arm once more. Enough, he commanded, his tone brooking no argument. Captain Voss, Lieutenant Albright, you claim that this vessel is a contribution to peacekeeping. Yet its design inspires fear, not confidence. If your intention is to join the Galactic Council's cooperative fleet, you must demonstrate that your methods align with our principles. Voss nodded, his expression unreadable. Of course, High Chancellor. That is precisely why we requested this assembly. We propose a demonstration of the Indomitable's capabilities, a controlled exercise to show that its power can be wielded responsibly and effectively. The council chamber erupted into chaos once more. Some representatives argued that such a display was unnecessary and dangerous, others, their curiosity piqued, insisted it was the only way to truly evaluate the human's intentions. Amid the cacophony, Voss exchanged a glance with Albright. Their unspoken communication was clear, this was going exactly as planned. In the end, it was Ardivan who restored order, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Very well, he declared. The Council will allow this demonstration. But be warned, humans, should your actions prove reckless, the consequences will be severe. Voss inclined his head respectfully. Understood, High Chancellor. We won't disappoint. As the assembly adjourned, the council members dispersed, their minds abuzz with speculation and unease. Back aboard the Indomitable, Voss and Albright returned to the bridge, where the ship's crew awaited their orders. Well, asked Commander Elena Torres, a seasoned officer with a knack for spotting trouble before it began. How did they take it? About as well as expected, Voss replied, settling into his command chair. They think we're crazy, barbaric, and maybe a little dangerous. So, standard first impressions, then? Torres quipped, eliciting a chuckle from the crew. Albright leaned against the railing, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. They'll come around once they see what this ship can do. They have to. Let's hope so, Voss muttered. Because if they don't, this little demonstration could turn into the galaxy's biggest misunderstanding. Outside, the Indomitable hung in the void like a predator lying in wait. It was a vessel born of human ingenuity, ambition, and a history of hard-learned lessons. Whether it would inspire trust or terror remained to be seen. Far from the Council's gaze, unseen forces began to stir. Unknown to the humans, or anyone else, a shadow loomed at the edges of the galaxy, watching, waiting, and ready to pounce. The cold void of space stretched endlessly around the Indomitable, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Despite its immense size, the warship exuded a sense of restrained lethality as it glided toward the designated test zone, a remote star system on the fringes of Council-controlled space. The galactic capital had receded into the distance, leaving behind a collective of skeptical species who were likely placing bets on whether the humans would embarrass themselves or, worse, cause an interstellar incident. Inside the ship, however, the mood was tense but determined. Captain Voss sat at the head of the command bridge, his fingers steepled in thought as the crew prepared for the upcoming demonstration. The holographic display above the central console projected a tactical map of the star system, its planets and moons marked with glowing orbs. Nearby, Lieutenant Albright paced like a caged tiger, her sharp eyes flicking to the status reports streaming across the screens. This demonstration has to be flawless, Albright said, her tone clipped as she stopped in front of Voss. If we screw this up, if anything goes even slightly wrong, we'll confirm every prejudice the Council has about us. They'll think we're reckless warmongers. Voss looked up at her, his expression calm but firm. I know, Lieutenant. That's why we've spent months preparing for this. The Indomitable wasn't built to fail. Before Albright could respond, a voice crackled over the comms. Captain, we've arrived at the designated coordinates, announced Commander Torres. Her calm professionalism was a reassuring constant amidst the high stakes. Voss stood, straightening his uniform as he turned to the crew. All stations, report readiness. The bridge came alive with activity as officers called out their statuses. Weapon systems online. Shields at full power. Engineering reports optimal performance. One by one, the pieces fell into place, each report a reminder of the meticulous planning that had gone into this moment. Good, Voss said, nodding in satisfaction. He gestured to Albright, who stepped forward to activate the comm link. Open a channel to the Council observers. The holographic projector flickered, and an image of High Chancellor Ardivan appeared, accompanied by several other Council representatives. They were seated in a smaller chamber aboard their observation vessel, their expressions ranging from wary curiosity to outright skepticism. Captain Voss, Ardivan began, his multifaceted eyes gleaming. The Council is prepared to witness your demonstration. Proceed. Voss inclined his head. Thank you, High Chancellor. We'll begin with a simulation of a planetary defense scenario. The Indomitable will neutralize simulated threats while minimizing collateral damage. This exercise will demonstrate our ability to protect civilian populations under extreme conditions. Ardivan's mandibles clicked in what might have been a gesture of approval or skepticism. Very well. Proceed. As the transmission ended, Voss turned to his crew. Begin the simulation. The tactical map above the console shifted, projecting a series of red blips representing enemy vessels. Simulated civilian structures appear on the surface of a nearby moon, their delicate spires and domes glowing faintly against the rocky landscape. The challenge was clear: eliminate the hostiles without damaging the innocents. Deploy drone swarms, Voss ordered. From the Indomitable's massive hangars, a fleet of drones erupted, each one a small but deadly marvel of engineering. They moved in synchronized waves, their sleek frames reflecting the starlight as they spiraled toward the simulated enemy fleet. On the bridge, the crew watched as the drones began their assault, targeting the red blips with pinpoint precision. At first, everything went smoothly. The drones' advanced targeting systems allowed them to disable enemy ships with surgical strikes, avoiding collateral damage entirely. The Council observers, watching from their vessel, murmured in begrudging approval as the Indomitable demonstrated its prowess. But then, something unexpected happened. Captain, Torres said, her voice laced with alarm. We've got an anomaly. A new contact just appeared on the sensors, real, not simulated. Voss frowned, leaning over the console. The tactical map updated to show a new blip, this one glowing orange instead of red. It was larger than any of the simulated enemy ships, and it was moving toward the moon at an alarming speed. Source? Voss demanded. Unknown, Torres replied. But it's emitting a power signature unlike anything we've seen before. Could it be a rogue faction? Albright asked, her voice tense. Pirates, maybe? Doubtful, Voss said. Pirates don't have ships that size, or that kind of energy output. Whatever this is, it's not here by accident. As if to confirm his suspicions, the orange blip unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, obliterating several simulated civilian structures on the moon. The holographic projection of the destruction was chillingly realistic, even if it wasn't real. They're targeting the civilians, Torres said grimly. Raise shields and prepare to engage, Voss ordered. Lieutenant, alert the Council observers. They need to know this just became more than a demonstration. The comm link reactivated, and Ardivan's image appeared once more, his expression unreadable. Captain Voss, explain this. We've detected an unknown vessel, Voss said. It's engaging the simulated civilian targets. We're moving to intercept. Ardivan's mandibles twitched in irritation. The Council did not approve live combat, Captain. With respect, High Chancellor, we didn't approve this vessel either, Voss replied sharply. If we don't act, more lives could be lost, even if they're simulated. Allow us to handle this. After a tense pause, Ardivan nodded. Very well. But be warned, Captain, this will be noted in our evaluation. The comm link cut off, and Voss turned back to his crew. All right, people. Let's show them what the Indomitable can do. Target the hostile vessel and fire at will. The Indomitable roared to life as its weapons systems came online. Massive railguns pivoted into position, their barrels glowing with energy, while missile silos opened to unleash a barrage of projectiles. The hostile vessel, a jagged monstrosity of alien design, returned fire with equal ferocity, its energy beams slicing through the void. On the bridge, the crew worked in seamless coordination, their hands flying over consoles as they adjusted shields, weapons, and tactics. Voss barked orders with precision, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Target their engines," he commanded. "We need to disable them before they reach the moon." The railguns fired, their kinetic rounds tearing through space at unimaginable speeds. One of the projectiles struck the hostile vessel's rear thrusters, causing a chain reaction that sent debris spiraling into the void. "Direct hit," Torres called out. But the enemy wasn't finished yet. With a sudden burst of energy, the alien ship launched a swarm of smaller vessels, fighters that swarmed toward the Indomitable like angry hornets. "Deploy interceptors," Albright ordered. From the Indomitable's hangars, a squadron of sleek, heavily armed fighters emerged, meeting the enemy swarm head-on. The ensuing dogfight was a blur of energy blasts and evasive maneuvers, the void lit up like a fireworks display. Amidst the chaos, Voss noticed something peculiar. The hostile vessel's movements were erratic, almost desperate. It was as if it wasn't expecting resistance. "Lieutenant," he said, turning to Albright. "Something's not right. Scan that ship for life signs." Albright frowned but complied, her fingers dancing over the console. A moment later, her eyes widened. "Captain, there are no life signs aboard that vessel. It's unmanned." Voss's jaw tightened. "A drone ship?" "Looks like it," Albright said. "But who's controlling it?" Before Voss could respond, the hostile vessel unleashed a final, desperate attack, a massive energy beam aimed directly at the Indomitable. "Evasive maneuvers," Voss shouted. The Indomitable rolled to the side, the beam grazing its shields with enough force to send a tremor through the ship. On the bridge, alarms blared as the crew scrambled to stabilize the vessel. "We're holding, Captain," Torres reported. "But our shields are down to 60%. "Return fire," Voss ordered. "Finish it off." The Indomitable unleashed its full arsenal, a barrage of missiles and railgun rounds that tore through the hostile vessel's hull. With a final, cataclysmic explosion, the enemy ship disintegrated, its fragments scattering into the void. For a moment, the bridge was silent, save for the hum of the ship's systems. Then, Voss exhaled and sank back into his chair. "Status?" he asked. "All enemy contacts eliminated," Torres said. "The moon is secure." Voss nodded, his expression grim. "Good work, everyone. But this isn't over. We need to find out who sent that ship, and why." Far away, aboard the Council's observation vessel, High Chancellor Ardivan and the other representatives watched the aftermath in stunned silence. The humans had proven their strength, but in doing so, they had raised more questions than answers. In the shadows of the galaxy, an unknown force observed the events with growing interest, its plans advancing with every passing moment. The vast silence of the void wrapped around the Indomitable like a suffocating shroud. Though the immediate threat had been neutralized, the mystery of the unmanned vessel gnawed at Captain Voss and his crew. In the wake of the confrontation, the tactical display flickered, shifting back to the holographic map of the star system. The simulated civilian targets had vanished, replaced by a glaring red notification, "Potential threat zone detected." "Captain," Torres called, her voice tense as her fingers danced across her console. "We're picking up an anomaly on long-range sensors. It's faint, but it matches the energy signature of the vessel we just destroyed." Voss leaned forward, his brow furrowing. "Another one?" Torres nodded grimly. "Not just one. Multiple signals. They're converging on our location." The crew fell silent, their expressions ranging from apprehension to determination. Lieutenant Albright was the first to break the tension. "This can't be a coincidence. Whoever sent that ship wasn't testing us, they were probing us." They wanted to see how we'd react, Voss said, his voice low but steady. And now that we've shown our hand, they're sending reinforcements. Captain, Torres interjected, her tone sharp. Incoming transmission. It's not from the Council. The bridge froze as the comms system crackled to life. A voice, deep and distorted, filled the air. It was laced with an eerie calmness that sent chills down the spine. Humans, the voice said, drawing the word out as if tasting it for the first time. We have observed your kind with great interest. You boast of power, yet your strength is untested. We will see if you are worthy of your place among the stars. Voss exchanged a glance with Albright. Identify the source of that transmission, he ordered. Torres worked quickly, her brow furrowed. It's being broadcast from multiple points. Whoever they are, they're masking their location. Before anyone could respond, the tactical map lit up with new contacts. Dozens of orange blips emerged on the edges of the system, their trajectories forming an unmistakable pattern, encirclement. They're surrounding us, Albright said, her voice tight. Voss rose from his chair, his expression hard. Raise shields. Charge weapons. If they want a test, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The bridge came alive with activity as the crew scrambled to prepare for the impending battle. The Indomitable's railguns swiveled into position, missile silos loaded with precision-guided ordnance. In the hangars, interceptor pilots climbed into their cockpits, the rumble of engines filling the cavernous spaces. As the enemy vessels drew closer, their shapes became visible on the external cameras. They were sleek and alien, their hulls shimmering with an iridescent glow that seemed to shift and ripple like liquid metal. They moved with an almost predatory grace, their formations tight and disciplined. Analysis? Voss asked. They're faster and more maneuverable than us, Torres said. But their shielding appears to be weaker. If we can hit them, we can take them down. Noted, Voss said. He turned to Albright. Deploy the drone swarms. Focus fire on the lead ships. Let's break their formation. The hangars open once more, releasing a torrent of drones into the void. The tiny machines moved in perfect synchronization, their glowing engines leaving trails of blue light as they surged toward the enemy fleet. The first exchange was brutal. Energy beams lanced through space, cutting down drones by the dozens. But the Indomitable's railguns responded in kind, their massive projectiles tearing through enemy vessels with devastating force. Explosions lit up the battlefield, the shock waves rippling through the void. On the bridge, the crew worked tirelessly to keep pace with the chaos. Torres directed the drone swarms with precision, while Albright coordinated the interceptors, her voice sharp and commanding. Captain, Torres called out, we've got a breach in their formation. If we push through now, we can divide their forces. Do it, Voss said. Helm, bring us about. Full speed ahead. The Indomitable surged forward, its engines roaring as it plowed into the heart of the enemy fleet. Railguns and missile launchers fired in unison, carving a path through the alien vessels. The interceptors followed close behind, their pilots weaving through the chaos with incredible skill. But the enemy was relentless. For every ship the humans destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The Indomitable shields flickered under the constant barrage, warning alarms blaring as the crew struggled to maintain control. Shields down to 40%. Torres reported. We can't keep this up, Albright said, her voice strained. They're wearing us down. Voss clenched his fists, his mind racing. They needed an edge, something to turn the tide. Then, an idea struck him. Lieutenant, he said, turning to Albright. What's the status of the experimental weapon systems? Albright blinked, caught off guard. The arc lance? It's operational, but we haven't tested it under combat conditions. We're out of options, Voss said. Prepare to fire. The crew hesitated for only a moment before springing into action. The arc lance, a prototype energy weapon mounted on the Indomitable's hull, began to charge. Its massive conduits hummed with power, arcs of electricity dancing along its surface. Target their flagship, Voss ordered. The tactical map highlighted a massive vessel at the center of the enemy fleet. It was larger and more imposing than the others, its hull bristling with weapons and defensive systems. Arc lance fully charged, Albright reported. Voss took a deep breath. Fire. The arc lance unleashed a blinding beam of energy, the sheer intensity of it momentarily overwhelming the external cameras. The beam struck the enemy flagship with pinpoint accuracy, piercing its shields and cutting through its hull like a blade through butter. The ship erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, fragments scattering in all directions. The destruction of their flagship had a profound effect on the enemy fleet. Their formations broke apart, their movements becoming chaotic and disorganized. "They're retreating," Torres said, her voice filled with relief. The remaining enemy vessels began to withdraw, their shimmering hulls vanishing into the darkness of space. The Indomitable held its position, battered but victorious. On the bridge, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. Voss sank back into his chair, his exhaustion evident. "Status?" he asked. "Shields at 20%, Torres said. "Hull integrity holding. We've sustained some damage, but nothing critical." Voss nodded. "Good work, everyone. But this isn't over. Whoever sent those ships will be back. And next time, we need to be ready." Far away, in the shadows of an uncharted system, the unknown force watched the battle's outcome with cold calculation. The humans had proven themselves formidable, but the game was far from over. The battle's aftermath hung in the air like the echoes of a thunderclap. The Indomitable, scarred and bruised, floated silently in the void, surrounded by the remnants of alien vessels that had dared to test humanity's resolve. Inside the bridge, Captain Voss stared at the main display, a grim determination etched into his features. "Casualty report," Voss ordered. Torres, her fingers trembling slightly, scanned the data feed. 32 drones lost. 7 interceptors damaged, 2 destroyed. No fatalities among the crew. She paused, then added, "We've sustained moderate hull damage, but engineering says we can maintain operational capacity." The crew exchanged glances of relief. Surviving a skirmish of this scale without major losses was nothing short of miraculous. "That flagship," Albright said, breaking the silence. "Whoever they are, they didn't just send it as a show of force. They wanted us to know they're watching. And judging by the way they retreated, we passed their test." Voss leaned forward, resting his elbows on the armrests of his chair. "If this was a test, then what comes next? An invasion? A negotiation? Something worse?" Before anyone could respond, the comms console pinged. Torres frowned and tapped the control. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission. Same source as before." The distorted voice returned, colder now, its words deliberate. "Humans. Your response was unexpected. Your resilience intrigues us. But understand this, what you have faced is a fraction of our capability. Should you choose to resist further, there will be no warning. No mercy." The line went dead, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. "Captain," Albright said, her voice tight, "this feels like a prelude to something much bigger. If they're trying to intimidate us, we need to respond in kind." Voss nodded slowly. "Agreed. But first, we need to understand who, or what, we're dealing with. Torres, any updates on the enemy fleet's origin?" Torres shook her head. "Negative. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. No known star nation uses this level of cloaking and precision coordination." "Then we need to get creative," Voss said, his tone firm. "If they've studied us, it's time we return the favor." In the days that followed, the Indomitable operated as a mobile fortress, running reconnaissance missions and gathering intel on the remnants of the enemy fleet. Using salvaged fragments from the destroyed alien ships, the engineering team worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the technology. It was an uphill battle, every component was more advanced than anything in humanity's arsenal, its design alien in both function and philosophy. Dr. Elena Korov, the ship's chief science officer, spearheaded the efforts in the research lab. "Captain," she said during a briefing, her voice tinged with both exhaustion and excitement, "we've managed to isolate the power signature from their vessels. It's not just energy, it's data. Their ships communicate constantly, like a hive mind. If we can mimic their signal, we might be able to intercept or even manipulate their fleet." "That's a bold plan, Dr. Voss said. "How long would it take to implement?" Korov hesitated. "With the resources we have? Weeks." "But we don't have weeks, do we?" "No," Voss said. "We don't." The crew worked around the clock, their efforts fueled by both fear and determination. Every system on the Indomitable was pushed to its limits as they modified their own systems to interface with the alien network. The stakes were clear, this was their only chance to gain the upper hand. As the modifications neared completion, the Indomitable received another transmission, but this time, it wasn't hostile. "This is Commander Eric's of the Coalition of Independent Systems," the message began. The voice was calm, authoritative, and unmistakably alien. "We have been monitoring your confrontation with the invaders. Humanity's strength is impressive, but your situation is dire. They will return, and in greater numbers." Voss glanced at his officers, his expression guarded. "What do you know about them?" "They call themselves the Arcanes Directive," Eric's replied. "A collective intelligence that seeks to assimilate advanced civilizations, or destroy them if they resist. They have decimated countless worlds, and now their gaze has turned to yours." "And what does the Coalition want?" Voss asked warily. "To survive," Eric said simply. "And to see the directive stopped. Alone, you cannot win. But together, we might stand a chance." The bridge erupted into murmurs. An alliance with an unknown alien faction was a gamble, but the directive's overwhelming power left them little choice. "Why help us?" Voss pressed. "What's in it for you?" "The directive threatens us all," Eric said. "If humanity falls, we will be next. This is not altruism, Captain, it is survival." The alliance was uneasy, but necessity overrode suspicion. The Coalition's ships joined the Indomitable, their designs elegant and unfamiliar, a stark contrast to humanity's utilitarian warships. Together, they devised a bold plan, a direct strike at the heart of the directive's operations. Using the hacked signal Korov had developed, they would infiltrate the directive's network, disable its coordination, and cripple its fleet. The final confrontation was set in motion. The directive's fleet awaited them in a vast nebula, the swirling gases casting an eerie glow over the battlefield. The Coalition ships formed a protective perimeter around the Indomitable, their weapons charged and ready. "This is it," Voss said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "All ships, hold formation. Let's show them what humans, and our allies, are capable of." The directive's vessels swarmed toward them, their movements unnervingly synchronized. Beams of energy lit up the nebula as the two fleets clashed, the Coalition's precision and humanity's brute force complementing each other in ways neither had anticipated. Inside the Indomitable, Korov worked feverishly at her console. "We're in the network," she reported. "Uploading the disruption signal now." The effect was immediate. The directive's ships faltered, their movements becoming erratic as the hive mind connection was severed. The Coalition capitalized on the chaos, their ships picking off the disoriented enemies one by one. But the directive was not so easily defeated. A massive vessel emerged from the heart of the nebula, a command ship, its size dwarfing even the Indomitable. Its presence was a stark reminder of the directive's power. "Focus all fire on that ship," Voss ordered. "We take it down, we end this." The battle reached its zenith. The Indomitable unleashed the arc lance once more, the beam carving through the command ship's defenses. The Coalition ships provided cover, their weapons hammering the vessel relentlessly. As the command ship began to break apart, a final, desperate transmission echoed across the battlefield. "This is not the end," the directive's voice warned. "We are infinite." With a blinding explosion, the command ship was destroyed. The remaining directive vessels, cut off from their network, fled into the void. In the aftermath, the Indomitable and its allies regrouped. The coalition had suffered losses, but their victory had bought them time to prepare for the directive's inevitable return. On the bridge, Voss stood with Eric's, their shared triumph tinged with the weight of what lay ahead. "This was just one battle," Eric said. "The directive will adapt." "Then we'll adapt faster," Voss replied. "Humans have a knack for that." Eric inclined his head, a gesture of respect. "Perhaps your kind is more than we anticipated. Let us hope you are as resilient as you claim." As the Indomitable set course for home, Voss allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had faced the unknown and emerged stronger. The galaxy had underestimated them, and that, he knew, was a mistake the directive would not live to repeat.